Just close down some of the things that you are running, and then what we can do is we can, as long as you're able to see my screen, that should be fine. I'm a bit surprised if you're using a Mac. It should have been absolutely straightforward. Yeah, I use a Mac. I'm calling you from a iMac in the office, and it should be as simple as that. Just cut and paste that link onto Safari, and then press enter. It has, if you have an iMac or you have a Mac, then obviously it has a microphone and a camera. Okay, that's brilliant. So So basically what we're looking at doing is, there are 2 or 3 things that I'm going to do today with you. One is we're going to do an overview of a unit, which is called Research Project, which is unit 5.4 that you're going to be studying in the course. And the second thing that I'm going to do is obviously give you a quick demo of how to use the system so that you can access the teaching and learning material. And then towards the end, what we will do is we'll also look at some of the basic things like command verbs and how to reference things. And I presume what we are looking at is this call to last around about 20-25 minutes. Okay, so the first things first is I'm going to start with the system. So basically, you have this link with you from which you're able to kind of log into our learner management system to access the course material. So the link is obviously moodle.ukversity.co.uk. We've given you a username and a password. If you put your username here on the top where you see admin, and then you obviously put your password in, click on the green button, it should allow you to log in. Now you are enrolled in the ATHE Level 5 Extended Diploma in Management. So we have lots of courses running, but you will have access to only that course because that is the course that you are kind of subscribed to and you are studying with us. So if I click on this course, what you will primarily see is that this section of the system, which I'm circling it out now, is primarily a section where you will find most of the course information. Things like your specification handbook, you'll have what a sample assignment looks like, what makes a good sample assignment, learner handbook, declaration of originality. That means every assignment that you send to us will basically have a originality form. And that says that the assignment that you've submitted is your own piece of work, and obviously it is authentic and things like that. Just to show you a few things very briefly. So this is how a sample assignment looks like, and what we expect you to do is every piece of work that you send to us will actually go through a software for similarity. So this is a declaration, a sample declaration, which a student is expected to sign when they send the assignment to us, and this is something that you can download from the learner management system and fill it up. And then there are a few things and bits and pieces that we expect you to go through before you start the courses. One is the thing called Harvard referencing, because most of the assessments that we do here needs to follow a referencing system called Harvard referencing. So there's a presentation that we've uploaded here. And then the bits which are command verbs. Every assignment brief that you look at, the one that we're going to look at today is the research project. If you look at this particular assignment brief in a bit more detail, what it will have is certain words like formulate, identify, undertake. These are called command verbs. So these words tell you access, for example. These words tell you what exactly is required in the task to be done. And what we would suggest you to do is, when you start this course, is to refresh some of these command verbs from this particular section of the course. Now, as we go along, we'll pick up some of these words to look at in some of the other sessions, so that you have a good idea of how and what is to be done in those cases. There are 8 units which you're going to be studying. So the units will be aided by, there are 3 types of documents. Let me start by that. You'll always find Word documents, which you will need to download to your machine. There are PDF documents which will open up within the system itself. And last but not the least, there'll be PowerPoint presentations, which will be there with most of the units. In some cases, you will also have videos. Okay. These videos will give you an overview of the unit. For example, this particular video, what is marketing, will actually provide you an overview of the unit in a concept through the video route. So some of the content will be available to you as we go along, because the tutors will enable the content as they are teaching you these units. But some of the basic contents is pre-populated on the system, and this is something that you can download. You can obviously browse it out offline. You can save it up to your laptop or iMac or PC or whatever it is, and then this is available for you to browse at your own time. Now, keeping in mind there are 8 units in this module that you're looking at studying, and there will be units that we will deliver every 4 to 6 weeks, and these units primarily will give you an overview. We will use PowerPoint presentations to give you an overview of some of these units, and then towards the end what will happen is we will ask you to read certain sections of ebooks that we will provide, and these ebooks will essentially give you the detailed practice and theory that you need to refer to when we look at in particular the units that we are studying. So today we are looking at starting one of the modules, which is research project. And what I'm going to do is, when we look at the module research project, I am going to try and upload a particular book in this particular unit. I'm going to cover more or less the entire chapter, and the entire content of that particular chapter. So you will not need to go anywhere when you look at finding teaching and learning material in general. Is that okay? Okay, so let me just open that presentation that we'll go through. So this is a copy of the presentation which will be uploaded once we have finished this web chat or meeting, and there will be a book that we will upload which is specifically for marketing research essentially, and it will give you most of the details of the contents of this particular unit. Why do you do research, how do you do research, and things like that. So most of the content that we deliver to you will primarily come across in 3 different types of documents. One will be a PowerPoint presentation. There will be videos to support the content, which is an overview. There will be a handbook or an ebook, which is basically covering the topic in detail, and it will be also having something called the assignment brief. So research project, this one, and we'll have an assignment brief and some of the handouts which will be to refresh the course and the course content of the unit. Is that okay? Any questions in there so far? Okay, that's fine. If I begin to go quite quickly, you can stop me there and then and ask me a few questions if you want to, if you don't understand anything. Now, the idea of giving you a bit of an overview, just to expand this so that you're able to see the font. Now, one of the key things that we're going to look at why we are starting this particular project or this particular unit up front is because this unit will kind of carry on with you for about 2 or 3, let's put it this way, 2 or 3 months. So you need to be able to select an area of topic, area of research that you're going to be doing it on, and then formulate some sort of a proposal, which will be about 300 to 500 words that you will send to us. And once we receive the proposal, the tutor or the supervisor at our end will, kind of approve that research area and the proposal, and then you can start to go about and do a bit of research on it. Now, in terms of the structure of how this particular unit needs to be looked at, this on the right-hand side is the assignment brief, as you can see. And in the assignment brief, task 1 basically says you need to complete the following steps in order for you to be able to produce a research project specification, and then show the implementation. So some of these tasks that you have to cover in the assignment will be, what I'm going to try and do is give you a bit of an overview. So here task 2 is provide an appropriate plan, and then task 3 will be to implement the research plan, and task 4 will be to produce a report, which is nothing but an assignment or a written assignment. And when you produce that, just to give you an example of, an assignment, how that will look like. Because most of the work that we do in UK in terms of teaching in higher education, or when you study in higher education, it is done through the route of an assignment or a written piece of report. So this is an example of a research project which a student has produced, and all these things that you see in the table of content, all these things that you see in this particular table of content here, are as per the assignment brief given here. Okay, so you will need to do a bit of primary research or secondary research in the market, go across, choose a topic, area, maybe a restaurant or whatever it is, and then go step by step in the activities to be able to look at, obviously submitting a piece of work which is a Word document like this, and that will constitute something nothing but an assignment. Now, to give you a quick overview of the unit, what we are looking at in the unit is the research will have some sort of an introduction. That means after formulating an area of research like this one, which I showed you an example of, was why are the sales actually, the study of why sales are falling at McDonald's. Because I think there's a lot of awareness in the market amongst the youth, and obviously the young audiences in particular, is of fast food, and everybody is looking at the idea of promoting healthy food, or food which is good for health to be consumed. So the student has picked up this area, and he or she has actually done research that why the fast food sales are actually falling within a particular organization. So here what you have to look at is, in the introduction, you pick up a company. Within the company, you pick up a product and you define a problem statement. So there's a background that a lot of people are now looking at increasingly looking at eating healthy food rather than fast food. Within fast food also, they're looking at picking up eating healthy food. And the problem statement which has been picked up in the area of research is, the problem area is that the sales at McDonald's, the outlets, the McDonald's outlets, the sales there are falling. So that has been picked up as a problem statement. And then the student has gone about formulating some research and objectives around the area to define how you will actually go about doing the research. So you'll have one or two aims, you'll have one or two objectives, and then you'll have a research question that you're looking at probing through the area of either doing a survey, or maybe doing some detailed studies, going out and maybe getting some questionnaires filled and things like that. So when we look at the overview of this particular unit, I'm going to send this email across to you, which is something that you need to go through and step by step understand what are the major headings that you will need to look at in covering this particular topic. And the other thing that I'm going to also do is obviously send you this particular presentation, which today is being done in tandem, combining an introduction. But you will probably pick this up again in this next session once you've gone through this. It's quite a detailed presentation which covers the full unit. As you can see, it has about 70 slides. So I'm not going to be going through all the slides, but what I would do is basically send you this in the email, and also will be uploaded on the system so that you can go through this and understand why we are going to be looking at this particular unit and how will you go about it. So it will give you an overview, and that overview will then be discussed in a bit more detail in the next session to develop it into some sort of a project proposal or a research project proposal itself. Is that okay? Okay. Now, in terms, one of the other things that I would like to point out in this particular unit will be that at level 5, the key concept of this particular unit is to look at building in a foundation for you to understand how do you do research, why do you do research, and what are the available methods that we use to do research in the market. Now, whether you apply this to marketing, HR, finance, or any other field, there are basic steps that you have to follow to be able to do research, and that approach is going to be kind of developed at level 5 when you're studying this particular unit, so that at later stages, at higher level education, you will have clearly a solid foundation to understand how research is conducted and what are the various approaches in which the research is conducted. So what my suggestion to you would be after today's short session would be to kind of go through some of this, some of these slides in the presentation, and then come back to me with an area of interest that you would want to do a bit of research on. Now, before I kind of leave you with this, what I would do is basically try and give you an overview of what are the basic things that you need to cover when you start to look at doing research. Now, as I basically mentioned at the start of this discussion, is that when you look at doing research in the market, and because you're looking at doing a business and management qualification, my suggestion to you would be to pick up an organization which is which has some products and services that you kind of have used in the past or are familiar with, because that will help you to understand some of the basic things about the company and the services that they sell. So a lot of students and learners actually pick up companies like in the food and restauranting field, things like Big Burger, or for example you look at McDonald's, Subway, KFC, things like that, or you pick up supermarkets which typically you are visiting, like Asda, Morrison, Sainsbury's, Tesco's, things like that, which give you a solid understanding of how they work. And because you've seen the environment and you've been to that location or have visited that as a customer, it gives you a clear idea to be able to develop some objectives that you would want to investigate, for the purposes of research. An example of that would be that when you shop at Asda's, you do not get any loyalty points for shopping that you do, but they always emphasize on the fact that we always save you money. But when you go to Sainsbury's or Tesco's, you do find that these supermarkets offer you some sort of loyalty offers. That means you have a club card or they have a loyalty card, which then sends you some promotional offers and discount coupons and things like that. So you might choose to develop or investigate or research something with the other supermarkets like ALDI or Lidl or Asda, in terms of why do they not offer loyalty schemes as offered by other competitors like Tesco in the market. And that could be an area of research that you would do, and this then kind of becomes a mini project which you can try and finalize in about 8 to 12 weeks. The main areas that you will look at doing a research would be to try and develop some sort of an introduction about why you want to do this research. And the introduction tries and covers things like the aims, objectives, or why the basics of you're looking at doing this research. The chapter 2 or task 2 will essentially consist of something like background, a detailed background in terms of the topic that you've chosen for research, and you will do a bit of review to investigate and collect or collate together points, meaningful points which are already there in the published domain. That means if you look at the website, you look at published articles or material, and even published research which has been done before you, to try and gather some background about why this research was done, or why this is important for customers. So you're trying to build a background wherein you're trying to underpin your research objective by doing a review which has already been published in past research books and through online resources. And once you've done this, what you try and then develop is you try and develop some sort of a net conceptual framework, which is essentially a very important aspect of your research. It tells you how you will go about doing the research. So say for example, you create a proposal, you develop a few research objectives, you develop a question, and then you put it around a framework wherein how you will go about doing the research. So that means your data collection and analysis will be done through a questionnaire. You'll probably distribute them through Google Docs or surveys. You will look at collection of that data, do some analysis on this to create some findings, and towards the end, what you will do is you'll draw some conclusions. So the literature review, in short, as it is called, or chapter 2, actually creates a link between the research area that you're doing and the existing literature or existing piece of research which is already out there, and you try and create a connect with that. So it's like underpinning the reasons of why you're taking this research with the theory and the background and relevant research areas which are already present in the market through published articles, online resources, books, and things like that. And the third most important thing that you will look at in this particular concept will be the area which is to look at research design and methodology. How would you do the research? How would you collect the data? And those are things which come across in your research design and methodology. There are various designs, or various methodologies that you can look at, and they are basically detailed out on the left-hand side, which I'm showing you. and some of this in a greater depth and detail will be covered in the presentation that you receive on this particular topic. The most important part of your research is when you present your findings, when you present the results, whether the research that you've done has been meaningful in terms of what data has it thrown up, what kind of findings it has brought forth. And those are things which will actually come across in this particular chapter, which is research, results, analysis, and discussion. And towards the end, what you will do is you will draw out your independent conclusions for the research that you've done, whether the data you collected was sufficient, whether you're happy with the findings, the presentation of those findings, and the objectives that you set out to do the research, have they been met or not. And those are going to be summarized in this last bit, which is task 4, and that will basically mean that you will conclude your research by bringing out findings and maybe further, even add further areas of research that others can actually look into, if they choose to do the research in the same area. So those are the key bits and the key elements of this particular unit that we are going to be looking at covering in the subsequent sessions. So my suggestion to you today will be, after this session, maybe go through this overview, which I'm going to send you on the email along with the assignment brief, and also look at this particular presentation which is going to be shared, which will give you an overview of this unit, and then have your questions ready that we can discuss as we then start going into this unit in a bit more detail from next week. Is that okay? Okay. Anything in terms of, just to confirm with you, so you've received your registration from us, the learner registration handbook, and you've also received the access to the username and logins for the learner management system. No, we've already sent that to you. So have you received that? That's absolutely fine. Yeah. So that is something that you need to have, just the very basics to get started with. Otherwise, you won't be able to. Yeah. So that's okay. So I will leave you with this today, and I think, keeping in mind, thanks very much for coming at such short notice, because I think I totally forgot that we had to do this in the morning. But we managed to do it is good. And what I'm going to try and do is now, after this particular meeting, I'm going to try and send you some sort of a teaching schedule, which you will see in some sort of this form, that you can see on my screen. And this particular link that I've sent you of join.me will actually, you can save this link, and what will happen is when we do further conversations, so you have it as one of your favorites on your browser, something which you can save it here in the favorites, so that every time we start the class, there's a time which is fixed, and the session timing is fixed. We can just straight away start the session without having to do any more configurations. Is that okay? I'm going to try and send you one in the email that I'm going to send you. I'm going to try and send you a video of join.me as well, which you can have a look at, and it will give you some basic overview of how to look at doing this, web meetings with us on a defined basis, so that you're familiar more with the platform. Okay, Thomas, any questions that you have at this stage, feel free to ask me. Yes, I'm going to, yes. That's brilliant. And once we have the schedule that is fixed up, then we will start these classes on a regular basis from next week. Okay, thanks a lot for this, Thomas. I will catch up with you soon. Thank you. Bye.